In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the geometry sticky and insertion of images in addition to some transformation properties. So how you can basically use the templates that come with inserting images and use your transformation properties to dilate or move an object and basically create some art using images and geometry understanding. So the first thing you want to be able to do is insert images, and you can insert images in two places in Classpad.net: graphing and geometry. So we're going to use geometry first. So I'm going to click somewhere, open a geometry screen. The first thing you probably want to do is turn off auto labeling. So you do that going to the center, settings, and then hitting auto and OK. So now I have my geometry sticky here. I know that I'm trying to make a kind of a holiday scene, let's say. So I want a very large screen. So you can resize by clicking here in the corner, over here on the side. So we're gonna do this. So basically I'm creating a holiday scene. I'm going to have a Christmas tree, Santa Claus bringing presents, and then a present under the tree. So I've already found my images. So one thing you do have to have is your images somewhere on your computer. So I found some free images that I could use from Pixabay, search wherever you have your images, and then I'm going to upload them. Now, behind the scenes, and let me just turn on the grid so that you can see. So in geometry, you have lots of different grids. So I'm going to just turn on, actually, let's just turn on the axes, not necessarily the grid, and the labels, just so that you can see. So here's my grid. It's a typical grid. Here's my origin 0, 0. When you insert images, and this is the reason I've put the grid on or the axes on, all images start at 0, 0. They are centered at that position. So let's enter our first picture, and we're going to want a Christmas tree. And so it comes when you hit that. So again, let me go through. It's over here under the text, image, or protractor. I chose image, and it brings me this little sticky here. It's waiting for me to drag a picture in or select one. So I'm going to select one from my memory. And so I would like to put in a Christmas tree. So I just click it. And so here's the image that's going to insert. And when I hit OK, a couple things happen. It centers that image at 0, 0, and it comes in at the size that I saved it. But notice that I also get a template. And so it's telling me where the center of the current image is. It's telling me the angle, and it's telling me how big or small it is. So am I happy with these sides? And here's where you can think about transformations. So I know that I want my tree to be over to the left. So I don't want it at center 0. So this is a transformation. I want the tree to move over to the left. And maybe I actually want, and we're going to center this down. I actually kind of want to move it up. So I want my tree to be on the 0 axis and over here to the left. So I have to move it up vertically, so up the Y positively, and to the left negative on the X. And so let's go back to my image. And so here is the description. So how am I going to do that? If I'm understanding transformations, I know that the X and Y are how I can translate how to slide it. So basically I'm sliding this image. So I want to slide it up. So that is changing where the center of Y is. Right now it says it's 0. And I could even enlarge my grid a little bit here so I can kind of get a sense of how far I have to move it up. The bottom of this is at 1, 2, 3, kind of like a -3, and I want it to move up so that it's here. So maybe we have to move it up positively 3. So my Y change is going to be a +3. So basically I'm thinking of translation rules. So I want to move up 3. And if I just hit enter now, you'll notice that my tree is moved up 3. That was not enough. So maybe the scale is not 3. So let's go back to our settings here so I can maybe make some better judgments. Let's do our numbers. We don't have our numbers on, so that's part of the problem. So it's actually by 2. So it was at 6. I should have moved up 6. So let's go back here and move it 6. And that should get, okay, so that's pretty much where I think I want it. That sounds good, but I need it to be way over to the left. I want it to go from, so like right now it's at like -5, and I want it to end up at -17. So I need to move it to the left, which would be a negative move. Negative 17 minus a negative 5 is going to be a negative 12. That's a good guess here. And then I hit execute, and my tree is moved. And I'm happy with where it is right now. So that's pretty good. And I'm going to go back over here. This hand right here lets me kind of move the whole screen down. So here's my screen is moved down. So now let's get our second image. So I'm kind of happy with the size of the tree as well. Let's get our second image here. So we're going to do a second image. And I actually have 3 here. My second image is I want to put Santa in. And Santa's going to be delivering presents. So let's hear. And so here's Santa, and he's going to deliver presents. And remember, once I hit OK, he's going to click right at the center here. He's going to be at 0, 0. I don't want Santa at 0, 0. I want him up on the 0 line. I want him to be smaller than the tree, and he definitely is now. But let's move him up first. So that's another translation. And he seems to be at negative 3. So let's move him up maybe negative 4. Let's see. I'm not negative 4, positive 4, because we want to move him up. Translation rules, positive. Oh, it's a little too high. So we should have probably stuck with 3. We kind of want him on. So now he's perfect, right? So is that a good size for Santa? Is that tree too big? I actually kind of like that. So we'll leave that with that. But now I come into, what do I want Santa to do? Well, I want Santa to be delivering to the tree. I want him to be sliding, translating. So I'm going to incorporate a slider in here. And the slide that I want is I want him moving horizontally. So that means impacting the center of X. And so I'm going to, right now he's at 0. I may want him to start at 5. So instead of putting in a number here for X, I want my translation horizontal to be controlled by a variable or a slider. So let's put one in. We'll put an S to represent Santa. And watch what happens. I now get a slider here that is going to control Santa's movement. And it's going to control him right now going all the way to negative 10 and positive 10. Well, let's look at our picture here at our numbers. Let's think about how do we want Santa to move. Well, let's do negative. We don't want him to go under the tree. We want to go up to the tree. So that looks like negative 7. So we want him to go negative 7. That sounds like a good way for him to move. And looks like he could start at 18. So let's start him at 18. And how do we want him to move? Well, we want him to move, default would be 0.10, so that's kind of slow. So maybe let's make him move by 1. So now I'm going to set him back to 18. Oh, I guess I didn't actually change it to 18, did I? And maybe not 18. Let's make it 16 because we're forgetting that we have the present there, right? The sled. All right, so that looks good. So there's Santa, and now I can move him slowly so that he is moving towards the tree. And when he gets to the tree, here's a problem. So this is something to work with images. So notice I have 2 images, and this one is now on top of the tree. So I'm going to go to my second one, and I want him to go to the back, or he's at the back. I actually want the tree to go to the front. And so now Santa looks like he's going behind the tree. But maybe negative 7 was too far to move Santa. So let's make Santa, where's a good stopping point? Here's a good stopping point, and that looks like it's at negative 4. So let's change our range to negative 4. And so now we have this slider that lets us control Santa's movement. So that's pretty cool. And now the last thing is I want to put a present already under the tree. So I'm going to get a third image in here. So let's go to our images again. I'm going to get up another image, and this is a gift. There we go. It's a gift. So again, remember what happens when I hit OK. It automatically centers that present right in the middle. Well, I want it to move up, so we know we're going to be doing a translation. And let's move this sticky here so I can think about the translation. I want the bottom of this, which looks like it's at negative 3, to be up at 0 line. So I want to move up positive 3, right? So my translation up 3. And I also want it to be over, maybe say at 16, negative 16. So let's make it move negative 14. All right, so that looks okay, maybe a little bit more. So now what are some things we notice are happening? Well, what's happening is the present is behind the tree. We probably don't want that. Maybe we want it to be in front. So let's see if we bring it in front. So now it's in front of the tree. Okay, so that's good, but now it's way too big, right? So now we think about dilation, scale factor. How can I make this image smaller so that it makes sense with my tree? And that's where this width and height come into play. This is now a dilation that we're thinking about. What scale factor is going to make this small enough for me to make it look realistic from where it is? So how about we think about a scale factor, and we want it to be similar, meaning everything's the same, so we have to change the width and the height exactly the same. Well, what if we do a scale factor of half? So that means we're going to take 10 and divide it by half. So we could just do that calculation right here. We could divide by 2. And notice that it actually does the scale factor for us. And then let's do the same thing over here. Let's divide by 2 because we're doing similar. We want the proportion and the scale and the ratio to all be the same. So we hit execute. And now I have a present that is smaller. But what happened now that we shrunk it? Well, our translation that we did up here isn't far enough. In fact, maybe it's too far. So maybe we want to change our y, and so let's just see what happens if we change our y. So it moves the present now. Maybe we want to make it be 1.5. So we're changing our transformation, and maybe we want to move it over slightly more. So let's do 16. So there's our present, and I think that looks pretty good right where it is. So now, except, let's check Santa out. That package is pretty big compared to Santa, so maybe we need to do 3 instead. So let's go back and change our scale, our dilation, and let's divide by 3 instead and see what happens. And so now it's smaller, and that kind of makes a lot more sense, right? So now everything is looking pretty good. So what have we done? We have done translations, right? Using where the center is. We've used a translation slider by using a variable instead of a number. And we've also done some scale factoring. We've done some dilation using a scale factor of 1/3, basically. And so we've done some math, and this is a really fun way for students to apply some of the geometry that they've been learning in a fun way and make basically a kind of almost an animation. So now we have everything where we want. I'm going to hide my grid because I don't want to see them anymore. I want this just to be a picture. And I'm going to say, okay. And now we have a scene where we have Santa. If we're going to move our slider here, we have Santa coming to deliver some more presents. Woohoo! So just some ways to think about using images and transformation properties to help you create a very creative work of art with your geometry.